What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I'm your host, your bastard of ceremonies, Reckless Rexx Ruger. That, of course, is my sidekick, the Freddie Mercury puppet. We're back. We got ourselves another banger of an episode. I know what you're thinking. Where do I know that face from? You look a hell of a lot like David Lee Roth. Well, that's because you're looking at Diamond Dave Jr. Let me give myself a look. My guest is here, so I'm not going to admire myself anymore. We're just going to get into it. This, of course, is where all the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rexx Ruger. No place else. The best conversations anywhere. And we're about to have another one right now. And I'm excited. And Michael's always excited anytime he gets to see Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. in the flesh.
Hey there.
Is that not true, Michael? That when you see Diamond David Lee Roth, even if it's just the offspring of him, it's still a big moment.
Oh, I love David Lee Roth and old Van Halen. I try not to watch anything new from him because
is he out embarrassing himself? Is he embarrassing himself?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's still David Lee Roth, man.
He's still David Lee Roth. Yeah. Listen, man, first of all, I want to say, and I had Eric on a couple weeks ago. Congratulations, man. Another fucking stellar Flotsam and Jetsam album. Can you believe fucking 15?
No. When I first started doing this, I didn't think we'd get to 15. I thought maybe we'd see one or two, and then, you never know after that. But, yeah, I'm very excited to bring I Am the Weapon to the world and the newest Flotsam and Jetsam record. That's what we're doing now, is promoting this. It just got released about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's doing pretty well. There's a few singles out. There's a few videos that are floating around that are pretty cool. And I hope you've had a chance to check it out and listen to the whole thing.
Of course. Oh my God. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I want to backtrack a little bit, because you did say, I didn't know if we'd even get past a couple albums, man. What was if you can tap into, I know this is going back like a lot of years, but when Jason Newsted departs and goes to join a little band called Metallica, where does that leave the rest of you? I might have asked Eric this, man, but I want to get your take on it, man. What did you think at that moment, for the future of the band with such a pivotal piece and such a prolific creative force like him exiting the band?
Dude, that is a job you got to take, man. When you get asked to join Metallica, you don't say no. So we kind of were like, dude, you got to do this. Go, man, go, And a bunch of positive things could happen, which they did, but a couple of negative things happened at the same time. We were under this umbrella that we were Jason Newsted's band. He was a huge part of the band. Back in the day when we first started, there was no internet or anything. There was no social media, anything like that. So what Newsted was doing is he was licking envelopes, putting tapes inside envelopes, licking envelopes, going to the post office, doing all the correspondence. And imagine the legwork when you've got when you're trying to send out a couple hundred demos, the cost, and just the time. And the dude was he was stellar at it, really good at the communication and the networking, making sure he's talking to the record labels, making sure that before their door closed tonight, he had his foot in it so he could go, hey, we're Flotsam and Jetsam.
Right.
And, that's a big reason, why we got signed by Metal Blade back in the day. So, when he left, he's a great bass player. He's a fantastic bass player, and he's in my opinion, he's a face of Metallica. I still think he belongs there. But
me too.
When he left, he left that part, the bass playing part, and then he also left the correspondence part, which it's like I didn't know what to do.
Right.
I mean, and that's not a job where you can gracefully fall into it. You just got to stop doing what you're doing on the Flotsam and Jetsam camp, and you go right to Metallica, and you don't get to do this anymore,
Right.
So that was a little bit of a speed bump, but he was a big part of the writing as well, but he wasn't all of the writing. He wrote a lot of the lyrics, and he wrote a lot of the music too, but he didn't write all of it. So we were under this umbrella, like Jason Newsted's band, what are they going to do? And we've been plugging away for 14 more albums after that, and we're still here, we're still relevant. And I have to say, again, I'm super, super happy and grateful that we're still relevant after 40 years in this business, that metal's
Yeah.
still alive and we're still able to do it.
And when you think back to like when you were young, was there a specific album or an artist or maybe a song that really, that really lit the fuse, like for you to do music? Do you remember who it was, what it was?
Yeah, AC/DC, AC/DC, Kiss, and then the first two Ozzy records. But that was, that was the beginning of it for me, and I was hooked, and it kind of developed into something else. I ended up. This is a good story because me and my I was in a garage band when I was in high school, right? And we used to hang out behind the 7-Eleven. I know this sounds like hoodlums and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but we'd sit on the milk crates and listen to music on our little boom box and drink big gulps behind the 7-Eleven. That's what we did. And we weren't causing any trouble or anything like that, but we were listening to music, and I got introduced to Kill 'Em All, and my jaw hit the ground, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I knew I wanted to play guitar. I wanted to be in a band. But then that's when I really started dialing in exactly the genre I wanted to follow. And that's when shortly after that, I wrote I Live, You Die. And the rest is history.
So in your room, like when you're doing the tennis racket thing or the broom, or who was the guy in your mind that you were being? Was it Angus? Was it
Angus? It was Angus. I had an old suit from when I was a kid. I had this old suit from, I don't know, I went to a wedding or something when I was 12, and I ended up cutting the pants off to make them into short pants. And I have my old Little League hat where I glued an A on the top of it, and then
nice.
My bed was my stage. I'd get on there, and I was Angus Young.
Now, as you get older in this business now, like a big part of it nowadays, especially talking to a lot of musicians on here, essential nowadays to be out there selling merch and out there like on the road. As you get older, I know I'm 51 years old. I've become more of a homebody. I mean, I have kids and grandkids, so I'm tethered to a home life. I'm not a traveling musician or whatever, but that nomadic existence that goes with touring. Do you still enjoy that part of the business, or because as we get older, we do kind of like our creature comforts. We like to kind of be around the house. We like what we like. We get a little set in our ways.
Yeah, I like talking to people. We do these meet and greets and stuff like that, and I like talking to the fans. After 40 years, they all have a story. Especially if we do, we just did this festival in Sao Paulo, Brazil. First time we've ever been down there, and there was like 250 people for the sign-in. They had to turn people away because we only had 45 minutes or something like that to talk to people. And granted, I might slow the line down a little bit because I like, even though there might be a language barrier sometimes, I like to try to chat and understand, like where they're coming from and what did it. Do they like the new stuff? Do they like the classic old stuff? I mean, what's their story? And then on top of that, you get to sign all kinds of weird stuff too. Like I think I signed a prosthetic leg one time, just stuff like that. And that part's interesting to me, above and beyond the plane. That's a serious perk for me to get to meet people and hear them say something like, I listened to your song and I was in dark days. It brought me out of a suicidal time or something like that. That's important stuff, man. Really important stuff.
Yeah. So you've made it when number one Kerrang! Magazine gives you a 6K for Doomsday Deceiver, and you sign a prosthetic leg. What else is left?
I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know.
All kidding aside, though, man, like when you look back at the 6K rating, and I brought this up with Eric, though, too, though, man, that is a lofty achievement that, and me and him wrecked our brains, which I don't believe has been bestowed upon anybody since. And I mean, I know that they're just a music publication, but they do carry a lot of weight. They have been around for a long time, though, man. And to not have anybody else in the pantheon of great metal bands come along and duplicate that, are you able to look back and say, like, really appreciate, like, your legacy?
Yeah, people still talk about that too. That 6K rating is still floating around. Kerrang! Magazine, for 40 years, that review has been out there, we're not the ones bringing it up. I'm
Right.
not going, hey, we had a 6K review and crank.
No, you're not. I brought it up to Eric. I'm bringing it up now.
Yeah. So what a it's an iconic moment for our band, and that did as much as when Jason left for us, like when Jason joined Metallica, we kind of figured, oh, there's a possibility we might tour with Metallica. This is going to get us out to this is going to be a big marketing thing for us, promotion. And I think the 6K was probably even bigger than that. But Jason was still in the band at the 6K. So, so 40 years later, we're not talking about Newstead in the band as much, but we're talking more about that 6K review, which and I got a big smile on my face.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you should. And so, as a former bandmate, obviously you're playing devil's advocate here, man. But when Jason, like when you read in the media that Jason walks away from Metallica, man, because he needed to explore other creative endeavors, man, do you respect a move like that? Because I know, there were people that were hypercritical of him saying, wow, really think about this. What you're walking away from here.
Yeah, I can totally respect that. People change over the years. They do different stuff. They get different visions. That's not an easy life being in Metallica either. You don't even have a life. You're so rounded up and you have to go do all this other stuff. You have no personal life. You don't, that's hard, man.
Yeah.
So I can understand certainly like wanting to take a breath, step back and take a breath a little bit. As a matter of fact, when he actually called me because for the Newstead Metal project, I couldn't do it at the time. I wish I could have, but what a great record that was too. A fantastic record.
Yeah.
And so me and I stay in touch with them over the years, and we've always had a little bit of chemistry when we write songs together. So even when we Flotsam did Ugly Noise, he stepped in, and he had some creative parts in that too. So. He's still Jason to me. He's not the bass player of Metallica to me. He's Jason.
Right. He's a mere mortal to you. To the rest of us, he's and for fans that might not know, your fans that are really dialed in, your hardcore fans, might certainly know the backstory, man. But what was the impetus for the hiatus that you took, like, from the band, though? Like, what was the motivation behind that? You did leave after I believe after the High album, right? And then you came back for Ugly Noise.
Yeah, and I just did an interview last week too that came out, and there was a couple different reasons. Number one, there was our management. I wasn't digging what was happening. The business aspect of the band, I wanted something a little bit different. That dude was a little too involved. He got fired not too long after I left, and I didn't come back to the band because I ended up, just focusing on my family life. And as I said in the interview last week, I had a bout with colon cancer too, which was a pretty scary time of my life. But again, like now I'm still kicking, and I'm able to push out my 15th record. I'm on cloud 9, dude. My life is good that that I can still do this stuff. I'm very grateful for every day that I have, and for guys like you, I get to talk to you and talk about some of my accomplishments, and you appreciate them, and I'll talk to you all day long about it, man, because I'm just very grateful to be where I'm at.
And I think a lot of people weren't really aware because, I work in the medical field. I'm a nurse by day. So anytime anything health related pops up, my antenna is instantly up, man. So what was that time like for you? Because it seems like, and I did just read and watch that interview that you just did. That was kind of the impetus for this line of questioning, man. Was that something that you chose to keep kind of on the down low?
I did. And I don't really know why. It's kind of, it's very personal, but I'll share it because, if there's anybody out there that has the same issues, mine started with ulcerative colitis, and it seems like that and Crohn's disease is running rampant right now. Even though they're able to control a little better than when I had it. I think I got that when I was like 13 years old, and they didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
So my last visit to the to the doctor before I had my surgery, you know, they scoped me and they said, dude, you gotta go talk to this guy, you know. And so I made an appointment for another doctor for 2 weeks later. And this is the scary part. I made the appointment for 2 weeks later, and they called me the next day, or they called me the same day, and they said, no, you can't wait 2 weeks. You got to come in today. And I'm like, that's when like I look like a ghost and I turn white, and I'm like, well, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then I got the bad news, and I was under the knife within a couple weeks, and dude saved my life, you know. But and that was in 1999. So 24 years ago, and here I am. I get to talk to you, and I get to talk to fans. I get to go on tour. I still get to play my guitar.
Yeah,
I'm a blessed individual for sure. And if I can say anything, if you go get checked, man, like at our age, holy crap.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I never thought that I'd be a guy saying, do this at my age, but here we are, we're at that age, but I guess we're fortunate to be at that age though. You know, I mean, we are, you know, to have made it to that age, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, cancer's not going to get me, but I could walk outside and get ran over by a car, you know?
Yeah.
And,
So what's the so 15 albums in, and I probably did ask Eric this, you might have a different take on it, but when you guys get together now, what's the creative process like when you guys decide to make an album? Is someone coming in with the lion's share of the ideas? Are you guys getting together? Is it very democratic and collaborative? How's the process go at this stage of your career?
Well, I've talked about this a little bit before. There's no egos in the band, so it makes it really easy to throw your ideas out there. You know, you don't have people stepping on each other, going, "Well, you know, I do this, so I should be the guy playing guitar. I should be the guy playing." None of that even matters. It's usually Steve and I that come. He's the other guitar player, Steve Conley. It's either me or him that come up with a riff to demo out, and then from there, it just gets moved over to Ken and Eric to come up with the vocal lines and melodies and lyrics and stuff like that, you know. And then if they can't, if their music's too weird to come up with something really catchy over the top of it, then it gets pushed aside and maybe we'll work on it later. Another thing that we're very fortunate is Steve and I can write riffs like all day long, man. It's still that's still going through my veins, man. The metal stuff. So even at my age, which is 25,
of course, yep, we'll keep it that. Yep, well, let's just stay there. Let's just stay there. I still want to be that teenage kid fucking bumping "No Place for Disgrace," man. I don't want to, which is a personal favorite of mine. You know, truth be told, it's that's always been. I've always had a soft spot for. I mean, all your stuff is great, man, but that one for me was kind of like the one that really blew the doors off for me.
Oh, well, thanks. And we dodged a bullet on the remake on that one too, you know, because I would advise any other band to do a remake on a record, don't do it. We got lucky and it was accepted, but most of the time, 99.5% of the time, fans do not adore that at all.
Yeah.
So we got lucky on that one, and and there were, you know, we just wanted to do a better remix on it, and we don't have access to the master tapes, so that's
one thing I think when I talked to Eric too, like you know, when we were talking about past stuff, you know what I mean, like, you know, he certainly you know, is proud of the work he's done, man, but you know, obviously when you look back to some of that stuff, sometimes you know, you hear the difference in production from back then to now.
Yeah. But you know, capturing the fire is a whole different thing. You can't see it, but you can hear it, you know. And when that anger is on there, it's really, really hard to reproduce the fire that's in the band at the time and the hunger, you know.
Yeah, and you guys have a pretty good, you know, stable lineup here. I mean, you guys have really been on fire, you know, since the self-titled in 2016, and then End of Chaos, Blood in the Water, like you know, and now I Am the Weapon. Where are you drawing inspiration from nowadays? I mean, it is a fucked up world out there, man, nowadays. But like when you're looking around for material, you know, to get inspired by, like, what do you guys? You know, like what well do you kind of draw from? Are you guys that like look at the news a lot, or you everyday life type situations? You know, where's the inspiration come from?
So there's a lot to that question because, first of all, for the inspiration on it, you know, we kind of, for me, I kind of treat it like I'm an athlete, and when it's time to record, I start listening to what I want to project as a musician, what I like to play. So I get game face on by listening to Slipknot and Slayer and whatever I can, just stuff that makes me want to, it just gets me up and going.
Yeah.
So that's where the inspiration comes from. But the hard part about it is like new and upcoming bands, everything's oversaturated right now. It's super difficult. And I would implore new bands, like, just keep doing what you're doing, because it's super hard right now to get noticed, to get your stuff out there. There's a lot of competition and stuff like that, but don't give up, man. Stay true, and don't make your expectations super high to where you're going to gear yourself up for failure, because things move very slowly. Look, it's taken us 40 years to make I Am the Weapon. I'm not saying your band's going to take 40 years, but just stick with it, man. Don't give up on it.
Yeah.
It's a hard business right now.
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a hard business right now, and that is probably good advice. And there probably are a lot of young musicians out there that need to hear that. And that's an interesting take. Like, I like that you kind of start like pre-gaming. That's kind of an interesting take. I mean, getting yourself emotionally charged up.
Got to do it. Like, I listen to all kinds of different music. I lately, don't tell anybody this, but BPM. I've been listening to a lot of like I just find it interesting what the formula is that gets people moving in dance music. And how do you bring that into metal? Not that I'm saying that I want people to be dancing to metal, but there's an aspect to that kind of music that it gets people going, and it gets their heart rate up. So, and that's what I'm trying to do with metal, is get people's heart rate up and get them to just go nuts. So I listen to everything, and I want to know. I just want to know what makes it tick. It's that thing you can't see. It's you can only hear it, and it's buried in the music, like the anger. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
I'm not like but and you know what? It's very opinionated. There's no bad music. If you like it, you like it. That doesn't mean a band is the best band. It might be the best band to you, and if you think they suck, there's no bands that suck. Really.
Right. Because they got fans out there somewhere. Somebody out there appreciates what they do.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And everybody's got an opinion about it, so just respect people's opinions.
And if you need fans, you can just take the U2 approach and just make sure that your album ends up on everybody's fucking phone, and you have no choice in the matter.
Yep.
Remember, they did do that a couple years ago.
Yeah, okay, so I told you I'm diverse in music for sure.
Yeah.
But iTunes gave me the U2 record for free. And I didn't want that in my iTunes library,
Right.
And I couldn't delete it. I didn't know how to delete it. I'm like,
that was the other thing. I just talked about that with another guest the other day. When it ended up on your phone, there was like a certain grace period where you couldn't get rid of this thing. It was almost like, all right, you're going to be stuck with this thing, and we're going to see if it grows on you. You know what I mean? Then you can delete it.
It grew like a disease.
Yeah. It's awfully presumptuous to think too. You know what I mean? That, I don't know if they could go back and do that again. If they would be that, if they would be that presumptuous to think people automatically need the new U2 album in their life.
But in U2's defense, I will say this: great guitar player, great band, great songwriters.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing,
Me neither. Yeah. So
I do like "Bullet to Blue Sky." "Bullet to Blue Sky" is a good tune. That should be a heavy metal song. That should.
Someone should redo that. That would make a good heavy metal. That make it have. I mean, but I love that "No Place for Disgrace." Like, I mean, you guys put a metal spin on an Elton John song, for fuck's sake. So anything can be done,
Yeah, we wrecked that song. We totally wrecked that song.
Now, when you say wreck that song, do you feel like I'm assuming that you're saying wrecked, like, we came in and fucking wrecked shit, but you're not saying it like that. You're saying like in a ruined kind of way.
Yeah, I like the original.
You do.
I love the original, and then I go back and listen to it. I'm like, God, Elton John would probably, if I ever got to meet that guy, he's probably going to kick me in the balls.
Yeah, I think I might have asked Eric that too. If you guys have ever got any feedback, or like if you have affirmation if Elton John ever heard that or not.
I don't know. I heard that he has, but whatever.
Yeah,
I wonder if he listened to it all the way through.
Interesting note, when we were talking about like your influences early on, man, you mentioned bands like AC/DC, Kiss, like some of these bands, when they get to a legendary status, we're seeing them take a hell of a lot of a whipping now in the last couple of years when everyone's got their iPhones out at these concerts. And I'm not a musician myself, but I see the terms that are thrown around. They're using backing tracks. They're using these different tricks to kind of beef up the sound, these smoke and mirror type things or whatever. From you as a fan, if you're going to see a legendary band like that and you plop your money down, and it is a substantial amount of money nowadays to go see legendary bands, are you okay with if a band needs to do that? Or would you rather see like them live, even if they can't replicate what they did years ago, and you might walk away saying they were authentic, but they sucked?
I don't really care, but coming from the musician, the band part of it, like there's no phone that you're just going to hold up and record a concert, a video of the concert, and you put it up on YouTube. It's never going to do it justice.
Right.
It actually does a ton of damage to the band is what it does.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, I don't care if people are videotaping stuff, but keep it for your own purposes. Don't throw it out there and try to get a bunch of views on it and end up, because we end up going through and trying to take it down because it's not a professionally shot thing. And it makes you look, it even makes AC/DC look like a freaking garage band,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm not going to do the David Draven going, put your fucking phone down and jump in the crowd, Axl Rose it and start fighting people. And then from the audience perspective, I'm not the tallest guy in the world, and I don't want to look at somebody's phone when I paid $70, $80, $100 to go watch a ticket. I don't want to see the back of somebody's phone,
Yeah.
So,
are you okay with these bands? Like if they need to do things to bolster up their sound, or do you think it should be the genuine article when you go see a band live?
You're talking about backing tracks and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Well, I'm hit or miss on the backing tracks because if they're your backing tracks, they're your backing tracks,
Right.
And we have keyboards in some of our songs, some of our newer material. So we use backing tracks for our keyboard parts.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're going to have to get some guy that's going to stand behind the Marshall stacks and play keyboards for us, like Michael Schenker's band, But I do not have a problem with it, but I do have a problem with it if they're doing it with like the main vocal or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's got to be to enhance, not to be your crutch, I guess.
Yeah. I get your point there. And tell me a little bit about, because obviously you see a lot in the metal world, the rock world in general, revolving doors of lineup changes. You guys have had lineup changes in the past. I think all bands, in some way, shape, or form, have had, especially like in the metal world. I mean, it's hard sometimes to keep the same 4 or 5 guys all the time. But this recent lineup really seems to be a good, stable unit, man. What have these guys brought to the band, man, as opposed to past lineups? Because, I think Bill Bodley and especially Ken Mary, man, they've brought something, man. It's up the Flotsam and Jetsam game for sure.
Yeah, those dudes are motherfuckers. And when I say that, that means top tier musicianship. I mean, these guys are world-class musicians in what they do. And also, they're just generally cool people, man. Good people to hang out with. So, and that has a lot to do with the lineup. We all get along 99.9% of the time. Usually 2 weeks is our period on the road where there might be a slight fist fight or something like that. But then we always shake hands after, But this band has always had super good quality musicians. You go back to Craig Nielsen, Kelly Smith, Jason Ward, Jason Newsted, all these guys are world-class players,
Yep.
And so it's just that type of band. It's not easy music to play, so it does require some a certain skill level for sure,
So I Am the Weapon, and again, for people that might not have seen the interview I did with Eric, man, I'll pose this question to you. I Am the Weapon, man. Where does the concept, where does the album title come from?
Well, we locked onto something 4 albums ago with the self-titled record, and it seems like that was a new beginning for the band. And we even had a different lineup. We had a different bass player at that time, but then shortly after that was The End of Chaos, then Blood in the Water, and then Now I Am the Weapon. If you listen to The End of Chaos, Blood in the Water, and I Am the Weapon. It almost sounds like a trilogy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what people are saying. It's not a trilogy, but they just there's not a concept or anything like that. It's just a conglomeration of good songs. And I think even from The End of Chaos until I Am the Weapon, the songwriting is even getting better as far as like the bigger choruses and the content of the songs, and actually the production and everything like that. So given the right lineup and the right group of people that are playing, all it's going to do is escalate us, which is exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And to right now, I'm going to say that's probably I'm the Weapon's probably our best record that we've made to date, And I hate to offend any of the classic people, because a lot of people don't even know that we have any new stuff out, but they're on the classic stuff, and No Place for Disgrace and Doomsday and everything. But hopefully we can convert those guys over. We can weaponize them to be
absolutely.
Like I Am the Weapon.
Yeah. And Flotzilla, I brought up to Eric too, man, starting to make an appearance now on every album cover.
Yeah, he was dormant for a little while, and some of the European fans were asking about him.
Yeah.
And so we told him, and we told Flotzilla about it, and he said okay. He took his slippers off and put his shoes on and decided to come out of his cave.
Yeah.
His cave in the ocean. And
I mean, come on, Overkill's got Charlie, Iron Maiden's got Eddie. I mean, nothing wrong with a good mascot, especially a formidable looking one like him.
Yeah, he's angry.
Yeah, he adds to the music. I mean, he adds to the aesthetic of the whole package. I mean, like when you see an album and it says "I Am the Weapon," and then you see his gnarly face on there,
Yeah, and he's kind of grown over the years too. He's made some changes. He's a little more modernized. He's getting older as well. And,
Well, album art was a lot more crude back in the day, which was one of the things that attracted me so much, because that album art for No Place for Disgrace, didn't look like the usual blood and gore and demons and it's. I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, a guy committing seppuku on there. I mean, that was fucking. That literally looked like a piece of like art that you'd see like hanging in a museum.
It actually is. It was Boris Vallejo did the art on that.
Okay.
He's a super famous artist. We asked him to do it. We actually asked him to do the 2024 version too, where it's like what happens just after the Harikari, after that guy, does his honor and commits suicide.
Yep.
And he didn't want anything to do with the second half of it. So.
No. So let me switch gears a little bit. I see you're wearing your NFL shirt, man. So obviously you're a sports guy. You're talking about pre-gaming and stuff, getting yourself geared up. So what sports particularly do you hone in on?
I like football.
Yeah.
I don't like to think that it's rigged or anything like that. I want to think that it's a true sport and they're really playing the game. But I don't know. I just enjoy watching it. My team's the 49ers, even though I live here in Arizona. My second team is the Cardinals. Yeah.
Okay, so you're a guy so you're a guy that, despite being an Arizona guy, man, like you're one of those sports fans that goes outside of your state and roots for a team, which is not uncommon.
I'm from the Bay Area, so I used to go to 49ers games when they sucked. They could not win a game. When Jim Plunkett was actually playing on the 49ers, and a lot of people don't remember that. But being 25 years old, it was only 25 years ago, right?
Yeah. Now, are you able to get geared up watching today's NFL though, or does it not feel like? And again, this is subjective. This is just me talking here, but I don't feel like I'm watching the same product that was on the field and on our TVs, as you say, 25, 30 years ago.
True. But if you don't watch it and you just listen to it, like Al Michaels' voice, every time I hear that guy announcing a game, that sounds like football to me. I miss, John Madden,
sure.
and the old guys from back in the day. Howard Cosell and all that, I miss all that stuff. But Al Michaels, to me, he still
voice.
seems like the guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's tough, man, because it seems like, man, and I understand, again, working in healthcare, man, the concussion protocol, taking care of these guys, although they did sign up for this, that, they knew football was a rough sport when they got into it. But it does feel like now they're really taking away a lot of the elements, man, that make it, the smash mouth sport that we love so much. I mean, it seems like there's very little you can do nowadays.
Yep.
Watered down, I think would be the term I would use.
A little watered down, yeah. But they're also hitting a lot harder than they used to.
Yeah, bigger guys, faster guys. Yeah.
Can you imagine one of those dudes coming at you at that speed as fast as they can?
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to take him. I'm getting out of the way if I can.
Too. Yeah, me too. And I'm going to be making sure that I've got enough vacation time to probably stay home for a couple of weeks. That's probably all I could take would be maybe one hit. That's it. And then I'm pretty sure that would probably incapacitate me for at least a good 2 weeks.
Oh, no doubt.
And I'm a pretty good sized guy. I mean, I'm 6'4", 250 pounds, but I'm also 51 years old, though. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there is that. Age. Age does become a factor at some point. I mean,
do you think it's going to be a factor in Tyson and Jake Paul?
I don't want to believe that it is, and I'm glad you brought that up because I'm back to doing my POD SCUM podcast, but for a while I took a hiatus, and me and my son co-hosted a boxing podcast, which is also on our channel, and we did 160 episodes. Obviously, we never got Mike Tyson on, but we had a lot of great people from the boxing world on, but I don't want my childhood ruined by thinking that Mike Tyson at any age can lose to this guy. You know what I mean? And I really just can't, I feel like even at 60 years old, you know what I mean? Like, he's been doing it for so long that I don't feel like you just get to a certain age and just boom, you just can't fight anymore. You know what I mean? Like there's a great story that I read in a book about like the great Jack Dempsey. He was almost 80 years old. He got accosted by 2 muggers in New York City. He threw 2 punches and it was over, man. So I mean, there's the muscle memory and there's just that like tenacity and there's just and there's something about the callousing of the fist and you know, I mean, it's just one of their fists just lands and hits differently than one of ours would.
I'm a Mike Tyson fan.
Me too.
Jake Paul, I think he's a phenomenal fighter, but I think the only chance that he has is if he wears a pair of earmuffs in the ring.
Earmuffs. I've heard different things about the clauses. Like, for a while they were going to allow knockouts. They weren't going to do scoring. Then they were going to use amateur rules. So I don't know. It's coming up soon though, man. But if it's an authentic boxing match, you know what I mean? Like we know boxing matches to be, you know what I mean? Like where, there's not these constraints and there's not, I do think the rounds are supposed to be a little shorter, though. I think they're only maybe doing 2-minute rounds as opposed to 3 rounds. But I mean, in any world, I just can't see, anybody, even at 60 years old. Mike still looks ferocious. I wouldn't want to get hit by him at 60 years old.
No, I don't want to get hit by either one of those guys.
No. And Jake Paul, a lot of people say he's making a mockery of the sport, but he does seem like he's really settled in, and it really does. I didn't like him at first either, man, but he does seem like he respects the sport and really is approaching it like he's genuinely trying to live the lifestyle of a fighter.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting and entertaining. Whoever wins, I don't know. I used to think it was going to be Tyson, but after watching some of the Jake Paul stuff, I think he's got a pretty good chance.
He does.
But Tyson's, man, he's got the game face, man. He's got, and he's animal thing clicks in that guy's head, and he's no longer human. So we'll see. Should be really.
And I know, of course, if he does lose, he can lean back on age or whatever and say that he's 60 years old. But I'm not so sure, man, that a fighter's ego could handle that. I don't even know if it's 60 years old, man. If Mike Tyson wants to look back and say, I lost, when I tried to come back in my 60s, I lost to a guy that really started out as a YouTuber and is really still a novice level boxer. I mean.
Oh, yeah. That would be, if I lost that fight at 60, that would be the first thing I would say. I'd be like, what, did he beat up an old man?
Yeah. And thank God he's got that to at least lean back on it. But we remember him from our childhood when he was beating up people in 30 seconds, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's the Mike Tyson that's still ingrained in my mind, and I almost still expect that to be the same Mike Tyson that climbs into the ring. I know that he probably can't replicate some of the things he did 25 or 30 years ago, man. But I mean, although I do like the fact that you said Jake Paul should wear earmuffs. I thought when you said he should wear earmuffs that you were maybe referring to how he likes to take a chomp out of the ear occasionally. But
that's what I meant. He should get some Hello Kitty earmuffs.
Yeah,
Jake Paul should, and then
Now, let me ask
As
you
well
another
as
subjective
Justin.
question. And let me ask you another subjective question. For you, your Mount Rushmore, and thank God I had a fan who pointed out that Mount Rushmore was in South Dakota when I was doing the boxing podcast. My geography, I don't know. I live in this country, and I wasn't even sure where it was. But it is in South Dakota. I'm happy to say that I do know that. But for you, your Mount Rushmore of all-time musical artists, man, for you, who would it be? Your top 4.
Angus Young.
Okay.
Malcolm Young.
Okay.
Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen.
Wow, you didn't even have to bat an eyelash either, man. You know what I mean? Like those are your guys.
There's more. There would be more, if the rock was bigger, I could put more on there for sure.
Who do you think has inspired your personal playing the most?
Ooh, that's a great question because I'm all over the map. I'm confused. Yeah. I've been confused for 40 years on what riffs I can steal. Probably Angus Young, but I never quite mastered how to bend a note like that guy. Yeah. He's the most underrated blues guitar player ever.
Yeah.
Exceptionally good. He's a guy jumping around like that, and you can't even tell by his playing. Usually you can hear mistakes and stuff, and you don't hear very many mistakes on that guy. The notes, the bends are like B.B. King notes,
Yeah. And I'm glad you referred to him as a blues musician too, man, because I think a lot of times, man, people don't dig deep enough and realize that there's a lot of blues influence with AC/DC.
Huge, yeah.
You can hear it. You can hear it if you really, it's like the white man can't jump line. You know what I mean? You're hearing you're listening to AC/DC, but you're not hearing AC/DC. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if you're really hearing them, then there's blues, down deep in there.
Incredible notes, man. You listen to You Shook Me All Night Long, and I don't even think that's their best song, but just the way he phrases his guitar solos, it's insanity. Good, it's just really, really good.
Yeah. Now this is a question, man, and kind of a new a new segment that I'm still working the kinks out of, man. And for all I know, man, this could be one of the most horrible questions ever. But if we had to do what I'm calling the rock swap, if we could have a dead musician back and we could offer one up in return, who would we like to have back?
Oh my God. So you want me to kill somebody to bring somebody back right now?
Yeah. That's what I want you to do. Exactly what I want you to do. Yep. I had a great answer the other day, and while you're marinating and rounding your head, man, I had somebody that was getting us Dimebag Darrell back and giving up Harry Styles from One Direction, which was a great trade.
I like that trade, but I'm thinking I'm looking for value here.
Okay.
So if we trade Vince Neil, can we get 2 musicians back?
Yeah, we probably should because he's at least fucking twice the size that he once was. Yeah. Yeah, I would accept that trade.
So then there you go. Let's.
You're thinking like a GM.
And then we'll bring back Dime and Eddie at the same time.
Oh,
and
I love that. Yeah,
I think that would work.
Yeah, bring back Dime and Eddie and give up Vince Neil, boy. It's not a personal animosity towards Vince Neil, right? You were just thinking 2 for 1.
I'm thinking 2 for 1, and also I think he's doing it. I'll just say it. He's doing a disservice, right now to his fans. You got to be, again, game face. You got to be on your game if you're going to go out and entertain. Because right now, I think he's just grabbing people's money, and I think he's just taking from people, which isn't fair.
Yeah. So you think I remember there was a great quote and I can't remember who exactly gets credit for, man. But it wasn't about and I'm paraphrasing at best here, man. But it was like something about knowing when to go to a party is almost as important as knowing when to leave the party. You know what I mean?
100%.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
I think some people hang on too long. And you made reference to one at the beginning. I mean, I'm not even sure what Diamond Dave is doing these days. You know what I mean? Like he's out there on the stage, squalling show tunes or whatever he's doing up there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not even sure anymore.
He should be teaching martial arts on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think I would watch that.
Yeah, I would watch that. Yeah, for sure. Now, here's one of my last subjective questions. Now, if I had to drop you, Michael Gilbert, on a desert island, and you can only take one album with you, what would the album be?
Dave Matthews' Crash.
Wow, you didn't even bat an eyelash. Okay, now I have to delve deeper, man. Like, what is it about that album? Because essentially, you'd be on a desert island. I guess you'd have a record player or like whatever the fuck. I really didn't think that part through, but you'd be on a desert island with this album, man. And essentially, it would be all you would have for the rest of your life, it would be the soundtrack, I guess, to your death. I mean, you'd be living and residing with this album and owning this album, man. Why that album specifically?
Well, it's got a lot of memories. It's got it's got a lot of emotion in it.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I fluctuate between two records because I've been asked that, and I asked that question too to people.
Okay.
The other record is AC/DC Powerage.
Okay.
That is my favorite record of all time. It never gets old. But the Dave Matthews thing, I can actually, because the next question that comes along with what record would you bring is always what food would you have and what drink would you have?
Right.
So I still don't know. It's probably going to be a taco for my food, and then the drink is going to be a margarita.
Okay.
So AC/DC and margaritas, that doesn't really mix. But Dave Matthews and a good margarita, I can sit on the beach with my toes in the sand and just watch the beach and the ocean all day long.
Not a bad pick at all.
That's my calling right there, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you said so many things in this interview that should get your metal card fucking pulled from you, but I don't think that they will, though, man, because you put out so many fucking great metal albums, man. But I mean, well, what was the thing you admitted a little while ago, like where you said, "Don't tell anybody this"?
Oh,
you said something.
Oh, shoot, I don't know.
But it was something that, it was about the dance music, the BPM.
Oh yeah, the BPM stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. Don't tell anybody.
and so one thing that I love that you guys do, though, man, is that you guys don't do. And I think this trend kind of started around COVID, like with people putting out EPs and singles, man. You guys still go right for the jugular with a full-length fucking album, dude. I fucking love that, man. Will that recipe ever change? No.
Never.
No. You guys will always do full albums.
Yeah. Dude, every time I sit down to write a song, that's what comes out. I remember a couple of years back, I was like, okay, I've got the E chord, G, and an A. What kind of song can I write with this? Because this is what AC/DC's career is based on.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. Even with just 3 simple chords, I could not write a song with like that. It's just not my style. Now, you give me the alternate picking and the dissonant chords, I can write a song. I write songs all day long doing that for whatever reason.
Right.
Give me a keyboard. You'll get chopsticks out of it. That's about it.
And now, do you feel like, because I was talking about this with another musician the other day, a big thing back in the day that used to be, a concept album, but then I started to think, like, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, from an artist standpoint, almost all albums feel conceptual in nature. I think the arranging and the sequencing of the music on an album is extremely important, right? You're taking the listener on a journey. Like, I use it, for example, all the time on here. You wouldn't just put Pink Floyd's The Wall on and start dancing around to different tracks, skipping tracks or whatever. It's meant to be, you take the whole voyage.
You don't shuffle it. Yeah, for sure. Right. We had, actually, with I Am the Weapon and with Blood in the Water, we had issues with that because we couldn't figure out an arrangement. You want to make sure that you capture people with a banger at the very first song, right. And then you want to take them on it, like you said, an adventure through it. You don't want them to stop until the record's done.
Right.
They're done listening, because that's what we did when we were kids, is listen to it from the start to the finish. And people don't do that anymore. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish. And I think we did an all right job at it, because everybody that's heard anything off of it, they usually say the whole record, there's not a bad song on the record, which, when you can actually, I've always had an issue saying this, is like all killer and no filler.
Yeah.
I'm actually proud to say that, I really feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that because of Ken's work and AK's work on this record, really taking the details, which is something that maybe Flotsam lacked a little bit in the earlier years. And now with these latest 3 records, we're really dialing that part in more than super fast guitar riffs or you know what I mean? It's more about the song now than it is, showboat and stuff or anything like that. If that makes sense. I might not be using the right words for it,
but when you took your hiatus from the band, you're obviously still, a part of of your bandmates' lives. You're still in the Flotsam and Jetsam circle. What was your opinion of the albums that they made when you weren't in the band?
Man, I almost want to do a no comment on this because I
Were
didn't
you
listen to a whole lot of it. To be honest about it, and the reason why, it's like somebody banging my girlfriend. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's my baby, and now,
Yeah.
Mark Simpson's one of those super talented musicians that took my place when I
Mhm.
left. But it was my decision to leave, and I did know that it was going to be like that. But
Yeah.
I listened to it very minimal, because it's honestly, it's a little bit painful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've read in past interviews where AK, like really didn't feel like his heart was in it as much too, though. So like, I think that speaks volumes to like, what I mean, like when you see that, that front man lead guitarist dynamic, I mean, like you think of those, those great pairs throughout history, Axl Slash. I mean, you think of these duos, I very much equate like you guys in there too. So it probably, it probably had a significant effect on him as well to not look over there and see you there as well.
Yeah, we've never really talked about that, but he did call me. It wasn't a decision that I called them and like, hey, I want to get back in the band or anything like that. I wasn't even
Right.
really thinking about it at the time, and I got a call from him, and he was just like, hey, dude,
Yeah.
what do you think about this? And I thought about it for a day, probably less than a day, probably more like 15 minutes, and then I
Yeah.
was like, yeah.
So you were kind of itching to get back to the music then.
Yeah, because my kids were growing up, and they didn't want me around anymore. I was just in the way at the house. I was watching the wrong TV programs. We didn't have a PlayStation or anything like that. So they're like, Dad, go do something.
Yeah, get back to work. and we just made the point about staying too long to the party, man. You guys are fucking firing on all cylinders, man. But do you have a definitive idea, man, like in your own mind? Not that we want you guys to go any fucking place, especially not putting out work like this. But have you thought in your own mind, and this is not you speaking for the band, this is just you speaking, man. Have you thought like, geez, I don't want to still be doing this past a certain age, or past X, whatever X may be?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that. I do know that I don't want to be in a position, and I know the rest of the guys too don't want to be in a position where uh, people can tell we're old. That's
Yeah.
the last thing I want to end on. There's a lot of great bands out there right now that that deliver. God, I'm gonna get pummeled for this, but they deliver a substandard show.
Mhm.
And I'm talking quality, sound quality, and
Yep.
like visually, you don't want to see your heroes as an overweight guy that's can't do his thing anymore.
Right.
That's not where you want to leave people,
Right.
and I don't want to leave anybody on that. So that's kind of my threshold.
But then when you look at a band like the Rolling Stones, who are still up there prancing around, and Mick Jagger still seems to be moving pretty spry, do you give them a pass, or have they stayed at the party too long too?
I've never wanted to watch that guy up there.
No.
So,
So you're
I
not a
can't
Stones
stand.
guy.
I don't like. No, I don't like any of that stuff. A lot of the classic rock. A lot of it is huge influence on me, but there's a lot of it too that I just can't stand. Like Jethro Tull and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just shared that. As a matter of fact, I just shared that on my Facebook page the other day, man. That criminal year in 1989 when they beat Metallica out for the
Grammy.
Grammy. Oh my God, Jesus Christ! And then because on my Facebook page, I put up a little snippet of them performing at the Grammys that night. And my God, man, they were on fucking fire, man. And if you go look on my Facebook page, it's just a little snippet of them singing, but James just sounds otherworldly, and you can literally hear Jason's background vocals, and they are an echoing roar throughout the place, man. You know what I mean? Like just when he comes in on like the fucking chorus of fucking One.
Yeah,
I hated to
I
see
think
him
that
lose.
was.
As a lifelong Metallica fan, I really thought that for a while, man, he was the one. And of course, this is no secret that obviously a lot of diehard fans thought that they made some questionable moves. You know what I mean? People tuned out around the Black Album. I still like that album, but then around like Load and Reload and some of those albums. But I thought Jason was still the guy really keeping some teeth in that fucking band for a while.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
That's what that guy brought to the table. He brought that in our band, and for him to bring it to Metallica, there was probably no other bass player on the planet that could have done that for Metallica.
Yeah.
I'll stand by that too, because
Yeah.
I just know the energy that guy brings, and
Yeah. No disrespect
And
to Robert Trujillo. He's doing a great job as well, but
yeah, different era, you know, he's a great bass player and he's got some great stuff, accomplishments even before Metallica, you know,
sure.
he is a fantastic bass player.
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
But you know,
What can you
we
do?
like Metallica. We
I
still like
love them.
Metallica.
Love them, love them, love them. Going to see them next year, man. A little different than the first time I saw them in the 80s. Ticket prices are a little bit more expensive, but
What are they, like $600 now?
I'm up in the nosebleeds and I paid 111 per ticket. But I am seeing Suicidal Tendencies in Pantera in my town. It's alternating every other town. So with opening acts, the other combination was a strange one to me. It was Ice Nine Kills and Limp Bizkit, which seemed like two weird bands to open for Metallica. So I was keeping my fingers crossed. Like when I opened up the page, thinking, I hope I got the package with Suicidal and Pantera. And thankfully, Syracuse, New York, that's what we're getting. So thank God. Yeah, I'm not so sure that recipe sits well with me. I can't say, no disrespect to Ice Nine Kills. I don't know what they do. I'm not familiar with them, man. But a Limp Bizkit Metallica bill, even to me, is a little strange. And again, no disrespect to Limp Bizkit, but they were just out on tour and they had Corey Feldman opening up for them. So,
Oh, you know, that reminds me of like the old Van Halen days where they would try to get the shittiest band,
yeah,
just so the bottles would start flying, you know.
yeah.
And you remember this too. You would go to like a Van Halen or an AC/DC concert, and the opening band would start. We'd be looking at our watch.
Oh,
going,
yeah.
Okay, when's
Yeah.
the bottle gonna come? And
Yeah.
that's when bottles used to be allowed in
Yeah,
concerts.
yeah. And then of course, like you come out and you're the and you're the headlining band, and like now you're looked at really as gods. You know, like I mean, you've been waiting around for that headlining band to come out, and as you say, the bottles are flying around. Then when you come out, you almost can't do anything wrong. You know.
No, all you got to do is say hello, and you're a golden god.
Yeah. Now, so now in closing, man, like since the public's attention span has dwindled, and as around COVID time, it seemed like people couldn't get out and tour. Obviously, it almost seemed like they were almost worried about being forgotten about. There's such an influx of music on the streaming platforms. You know, you couple that with people's dwindling attention span, and what COVID did. It seemed like there was a lot of singles, a lot of EPs, a lot of people just hurrying up and getting stuff out or whatever, man. Do you already think about how fast you follow an album like this up? Like, I know it just came out or whatever, but you guys have been pretty consistent with like about it, every 2 or 3 years, a new album coming out. Will you stay pretty much on that pace?
Yeah, and we've already been talking about that. We're actually just starting to write some new stuff for the next one.
Okay.
Just because of that, because of it moves so fast right now. We just released 4 singles for this record. Then the album came out. And we've got about 2 months downtime before the holiday season. And so there's nothing going on. And we're like, man, if you don't stay on social media, you don't keep doing interviews and talking to people like you to stay out there, it goes away pretty quick. And you could write the next You Shook Me All Night Long, and that gets swept under the carpet pretty quickly, just because if it's the 4th song on the record and they're only listening to the first 3, because who knows, I mean, there's a lot of different factors. Social media is really, for us 25-year-olds, it's really hard for us to lock on to how social media works, because it didn't used to be like that. And we just used to go play, and that was enough to start generate everything for the trajectory to go upwards.
It is kind of a necessary, it is kind of a necessary marketing tool. Though you almost nowadays have to have that social media presence. I mean, it's almost kind of doing what the labels kind of used to. I mean, you almost got to get out there and kind of do your own marketing.
100%. And TikTok's a huge thing. I don't know how to do TikTok, but I'm watching it, and it's very entertaining. Yeah. And I don't know if I can, I'm too old to be entertaining like that. Some of those people do some pretty funny stuff, I
got people looking at me at work, like when I talk about me and my wife are in bed watching Dancing with the Stars on a fucking Tuesday night. It makes me feel fucking old. You know what I mean? Like, thank God I have music and like rock music and this podcast as an outlet, because otherwise I think I'd be viewed as a stodgy old fuck. I would be. I mean, watching Dancing with the Stars, I mean, for fuck's sake. I mean, I'm already a grandfather. Now I'm watching America's Got Talent and Dancing with the Stars. I'm in bed watching, bad reality TV and this and that kind of, I'm in bed at like 9 o'clock at fucking night. But not necessarily asleep, but I'm in bed.
You're not watching The Bachelor though, right? So there's
No
hope for you.
Bachelor. No,
There's
no.
there's still hope for you.
Yeah, I got to have integrity somewhere along the line. Listen, Michael, man, congratulations, man. This is another fucking great Flotsam and Jetsam album, man. And I, I've had you on multiple times. I've had Eric on. Not only are you guys an amazing band, man, but you're such fucking great guys. And I love chopping it up with you guys, man. You guys are the fucking best, man.
Oh man, thank you. And dude, thanks for having me on. And I know we were just talking about this a couple of days ago. It wasn't a scheduled interview, but dude, anytime you want to talk, you let me know. And we'll talk about if my album changes for the desert island or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll just keep telling you. I mean, I sent you a Facebook request because I know that when I was doing the podcast before, I was actually using my personal Facebook. Now I actually use one because it looks a little more professional, I guess. So I set up another Facebook, but I did send you a friend request, from that one as well. I think you accepted it already though. So yeah. I mean, even if there's no new Flotsam and Jetsam stuff going on, man, just having you on and chopping it up with you is awesome, man. So means a lot to me.
Well, what part of New York are you in? Because we got some stuff coming up next year. I'm not sure the actual dates, but I know we're going to have some extensive touring going on. So maybe catch up with you when we get to it's in New York, right?
I would love that. Yeah, I'm in upstate, man. So I'm okay. It's funny because being a New Yorker, whenever I tell somebody that I'm a New Yorker, they instantly ask what part of the city or what borough. It's like they can't equate New York as being anything but the city. But I'm about 4 hours west of the city, so I'm not anywhere near Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, any of that stuff or whatever. I mean, I'm more up towards like the Syracuse way, almost like the middle of the state.
Oh, okay, you're up by Bill then. Bill, our bass player's up there.
Whereabouts is he?
I want to say he's just outside of Syracuse.
Yeah, I'm right near Syracuse. That'd probably be the closest big city. That's probably probably 30, 40 minutes away. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to start getting cold here pretty soon. I don't have the luxury of being in Arizona and enjoying that nice toasty warm weather. It will be turning here very soon here. Again, it's already in the air now, man. I'm already turning the electric blanket on. Another sign that I'm getting fucking old. It's getting cold here. It's starting to turn. I'm coming out for work in the morning and I'm not quite warming the car up yet, man, but it's headed there, man. The mornings are getting to be like 40, 45 degrees.
Man.
Yeah.
We do have a little bit of a cold problem in the winter here. People think it's the desert. It's always hell. It's always 100 degrees, but it does freeze in the desert. It gets pretty cold,
Yeah. But Arizona is a great state, and I'm starting to realize, man, great music down in Arizona too, man. I mean, outside of you, I mean, I believe Sacred Reich is from Arizona.
Yep.
And I believe Max Cavalier is down in that area now too. I think he lives down there too.
Yep.
He's in the Arizona area somewhere.
So a kind of a cool little story. I know we're getting ready to
go please. Yeah.
A cool little story is Max's wife, Gloria, used to own the bar that we got our start at. It was a bar called Bootleggers. And we won a battle of the bands there, as Flotsam and Jetsam. And her and her husband at the time paid for our demo tape, which is the Metal Shock demo tape.
Yep. So
that's our ties with Gloria and that management and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of history right there.
Yeah, I love what the Cavaliers do because they're almost like the metal version of the Partridge Family. Like I've gone to see Soulfly, and it's like the Sons are in the band, Zion, Igor, what I mean, and then they do Cavalier Conspiracy, and it's Max and his brother Igor, what I mean, and Gloria's out with the family and everything, what I mean. So they really much, they very much are. I've gone to see Soulfly. I've done the meet and greet thing. I've been on the bus, gotten to meet Max or whatever, man. It's nice. It's really like a family thing with them,
Yep.
You're
absolutely right.
You don't see it in the metal world a lot, I mean, like you don't see like a family of of all, and everybody got into metal too. I mean, that's some good parenting right there. Got all the sons into metal too. Nobody strayed and went the country route or the hip hop route. Kept them all in the straight and narrow. Good kid.
It's definitely like a compound, no doubt about it.
Yeah, the Cavalier compound. Listen, man, I appreciate it so much, Michael, man. You really are one of the nice guys in the metal world, man. I love talking to you, man. I really appreciate it, man. Always great catching up with you, my friend.
Dude, thank you, man.
It
means a lot. Same here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Good talking to you, man. Good luck with the so before I let you go, though, man, when will touring start for I Am the Weapon?
Our next show is 70,000 Tons of Metal. I don't know if you've ever done that before.
No.
We're doing that in January 30th. But up until then, we're trying to schedule a couple shows locally, Arizona. Los Angeles,
Yep.
Vegas, just someplace locally in the Southwest to get us all warmed up for that.
Yep.
And then following that, we're going to be in Europe. All that's getting booked right now.
Okay.
So we just made the Bloodstock announcement, which is the UK.
Yep.
And we haven't been on that one for probably 8 or 9 years. So this should be a lot of fun doing. That's a huge festival too.
Yeah. And then there will be, and then after that, there will be fucking US dates. Oh,
absolutely. No doubt about it. Not sure who we're going out with yet, or if it's a headline. We're still working that part out, but there are definitely going to be a lot of dates.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much, man. You guys swing through upstate New York, man, and I'll be there, man, and we'll catch up. Hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up in person, but we'll definitely do this again for sure.
Oh, it sounds great, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So good talking to you, my friend. Thank you, man.
You too.
All right. Later, my friend. All right. There he goes, folks. The great, and I do mean great, the great Michael Gilbert, guitar player for a personal favorite of mine, the great Arizona-based Flotsam and Jetsam, one of the most, in my opinion, man. You talk the big four, we all know who they are in the metal world. And then beyond that, you talk about the Testaments and the Exoduses and the Overkills. And very often, I feel like in the pantheon of all those great thrash metal bands, Flotsam and Jetsam's name is not fucking uttered nearly enough as it should be, man. Give those guys their fucking flowers. For fuck's sake, they are on a roll. I mean, you can go back and check out the whole discography, in my opinion, is just one big fucking roll. Still have the distinct honor of their debut album, Doomsday for the Deceiver, getting a 6 fucking K rating from Kerrang! Magazine, which I will always fucking bring up anytime I talk to Michael or Eric. Something that I think it's a huge feather in their cap, man, because it has not been done. I mean, that album came out in the early 80s. I'd be guessing at the exact date, man, but 86 maybe if I had to guess. I think I'm correct on that, man. So for that to not have been duplicated by anybody in all these years, man, that is fucking saying something. A perfect fucking album. And as I said, 1988's No Place for Disgrace, a personal favorite of mine. But the fucking role these guys have been on since 2016 is ridiculous. 2016's self-titled. They come back in 2019 with The End of Chaos. They come back in 2021 with Blood in the Water. And now, just last month, they have released I Am the Weapon, which, again, is another fucking face melter. An album that just makes you want to go out and punch fucking clowns in the fucking throat. And just do all kinds of fucking chaotic, anarchic fucking things, man. Another fucking masterpiece, man, by the boys. So big congratulations to them, man. This is another fucking stellar album that, we're in the last third of 2024 right now. One of probably my metal album of the fucking year, man. People can take me to task in the comment section if they so choose, man. But then I would defy them to really go listen and not just dissect and listen to what they want. Listen to I Am the Weapon all the way fucking through, the way albums are meant to be listened to, and tell me I'm fucking wrong. The band sounds great, man. The addition in recent years of Ken Mary on drums, a fucking monster. Bill Bodley on bass. Of course, the guitar duo of Steve and Michael. And of course, the always fucking powerful vocals of Eric A.K. Nobody does it better than these guys, in my opinion, man. I mean, I'm wearing an Exodus shirt. Certainly, a lot of the old school thrash metal bands out there are still doing it and doing it to a high fucking level, higher than some of their contemporaries that are half their fucking age. The Overkills. A couple years ago, I went to see the Bay Area Strikes Back tour, the Death Angels, the Testaments. They all fucking sound fucking amazing, man. So my hat's off to, in me being 51 years old, my hat is off to the old school guys, still able to get on the stage, still able to put out albums that fucking absolutely rip. And man, am I proud of Flotsam and Jetsam, man. A hell of a fucking role they're on, man. And they happen to be some of the best fucking just dudes in the fucking world, man. Had the privilege to talk to Eric, AK, and now a few times with Michael, and fucking solid fucking dudes. It means a lot having them on, man. They've rocked the shit out of me with some great fucking music over the years, man. And it's a real privilege getting the chance to talk to them. So thank you, Michael Gilbert. Glad we got a chance to do that. He's always a ball to talk to, man, and a good sport and willing to chop it up about everything and anything. So thanks, Michael. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Like and follow us on Facebook, or fucking else you will find out that I am the weapon, because I will come to your house personally No, I won't. But still, tune in. This is the best conversations happening anywhere. I'll put this podcast up against anybody's. Nobody's chopping it up and getting as in-depth and down to the brass tacks as your boy Rexx Ruger. That's why all the cool kids come to chop it up with me and the Freddie Mercury puppet. And it also helps being Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. That gives me a little bit of extra mojo, if you will. And make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell on this channel to stay tapped in with what's going on in the Pod Scum universe. And like I always say when I end these things, remember, take it easy and keep it sleazy.